Welcome to the Veil Between Lives, a sanctuary where lived experience meets the great mystery. Here, we hold soulful conversations with those who have touched the unseen and what lies beyond the physical world. We're honored you're here stepping into this space with us. We're your hosts, Em and Susan. And our very, very special guest today is the magnificent Magdalena Curtis. Magdalena is a catalyst for radical embodiment and wholeness, guiding individuals on their paths to self-discovery with courage and vulnerability. Her lifetime of paranormal experiences, combined with the nearly 2 decades of hands-on client work, enables her to empower others to reclaim their sovereignty and authenticity. As a channel and oracle, Magdalena inspires individuals to shine their light and embrace their true selves in a sacred space of big love. Welcome, Magdalena.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
it's
you
such
so
a pleasure.
much, Susan. And Em, hello.
Yeah.
Wonderful to be here.
To see
Yeah,
you.
so wonderful to have you. I'm really looking forward to this conversation. And I'd love if maybe we could hear a little bit about early life growing up and how you never denied your experiences, nor did anyone attempt to talk you out of them.
Absolutely. We will start when I was what I like to call a little ghost walker. Now, I didn't call myself a ghost walker then, and I wouldn't have known that term, but I look back at a picture of myself when I was very tiny, and I'm like, oh, yeah, there she is. So I was born into a family of artists, of alternative thinkers, 2 folks who moved themselves to San Francisco and were truly, of the beat era. They were both artists. They were both cultivators of new thought for that time. And it was the Haight-Ashbury in San Francisco. Yeah. So I was born at the end of 1958 and things were popping. And I think this time around, I chose a family system where I could expand. And what I recall from those days is that I was always encountering what we would now call spirit or ghost or right. And I even, work with that word ghost lightly now because I'm almost really feeling energies of beings perhaps at a parallel universe, right? We don't know precisely, but I was exchanging even words with beings that I knew that they were not in the physical form as I was, as my mother, my sister, brother, etc. Yeah. And I'm not going to say to you that it wasn't sometimes challenging when I was little. And I'll give an example. When I was very, very small, I would have thoughts and ideas running through my little tiny head. And I remember this very clearly. And at one point, some very not friendly voices came in and started to mimic in a very awful voice. And something rose in me, and I'm going to give credit to former lifetimes. Yeah, remembered power from former days where I simply said, you need to get out right now. And I remember this very clearly. I was very tiny, but some authority rose through my body and they disappeared. That was gone. Yeah. So all kinds of interesting experiences, right? I saw a giant, one of the most, I would say, perpetual images that I keep in my own consciousness, and I've used this with clients as well, is what I call the big red wheel of life that appeared just in front of me. And it was very slowly spinning. If you can picture a spoked wagon wheel, but in red, very large, and it was slowly, so very, very slowly turning. And as it turned, I had a very clear voice saying, and now someone is dying. And now someone is being born. And now someone is dancing. And now someone is giving birth. And it just went on, but very calm, very steady. And what I felt was a deep peace. Like, yes, that is absolutely true. Now, even as I'm saying this, I think a little tiny child was having these, yes, yes. And I've never forgotten the huge, impactful experiences that I had, starting from as far back as I remember. And because I was with a mother and family, especially my mother, who also was very expansive and spoke of things like spaceships and, right, she would refer to spirits. And it was not a household where I had to hide or diminish. It's not as though we had family councils where we sat and spoke about spirit. Yeah. But it was a generous landscape within which I could continue to work inside of these energies, not to mention the Haight Ashbury right outside my door. And I truly was a little tiny child who'd walk down with my friends to Haight Street and watch the teenagers drifting about in their velvet cloaks, and so the environment supported me continuing to simply feel that, oh, this is how things are. This is the way of it. But as I got a little bit older and in school, I felt very other. I did actually feel very, not quite connected. And so this is something that I've carried throughout my life. It's now perhaps a superpower, but I will never say to anyone that it's easy to walk a path where you do notice that you are sort of other. Like, I made a video for my YouTube the other day where I was talking about allowing the weirdo to come out. Really, really uplift and express your weirdness in this time, right? As things become same, right? People looking the same, AI, the proliferation of this, look that we all notice, right? Oh, here's what's beautiful now. Yeah. So allowing your inner weirdo, and I was always kind of a little weirdo, a little ghost walker. So I had a strong foundation of that. And yes, you're right, Susan. Nobody attempted to knock me off of that. I will say that as I got older and I was maybe in my 20s and I would share these experiences with friends and they'd say, please stop it, you're scaring me. Right? I'd say, yes, a ghost was standing at the foot of my bed and she was wearing this and she was trying to talk to me and she was talking in a strange, rapid language that I couldn't decipher. And they're like, oh my God, that's terrifying, And so I did sort of learn, oh, it almost became like a party trick versus who I actually was. So that had to evolve, right? Where I could own and be this versus performing it as a story almost to kind of distance myself from it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So Magdalena, what are some of the pivotal experiences maybe that enhanced or validated your spiritual truth?
Well, quite literally, the experiences themselves continued to validate my truth because I would continue throughout my life in whatever house I lived with. If anybody knows about San Francisco, right, it's filled with, homes. I was in homes that were built in 1905, 1904, etc., right? There's a proliferation of older, for American standards, homes. And I would see spirits constantly. And as I grew older, in my 20s, everywhere I lived, there were spirits there. So it was kind of accentuating for me. Oh, okay, that wasn't an anomaly. You weren't making that up. Not that I actually thought I was making it up, but I kept having references. Yeah. So, I have several and many I could share with you of beings, spirits, having encounters with them. So just the experiences themselves became the constant pivotal moments that reminded me, right? This is how you're made. Yeah. And so I kept having those reference points. And then I've had, massive experiences that I've engendered myself, right? Like having various trainings. I did Barbara Brennan's Hands of Light, right? 2-year training where I was working with people in their energy fields and having some refinement of some of these things that were just flowing through me. And that was beautiful, right? To be able to bring things into form. Yeah. Doing all the levels of Reiki training. And, and then I don't know quite where to begin because there have been so many huge, just like, and I say this to all of us, right? There's so many pivotal experiences inside of each one of our lifetimes. And if we really truly give value to ourselves and all of our experiences, well, then almost every experience is potentially pivotal. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But some very big ones, certainly, right? The birth of my daughter at home, right? 36 hours at home, and literally having every single thing that could possibly happen inside of a labor, truly, but a team of amazing midwives. And at one point, right, I literally felt the power of the universe flowing through the top of my head. And I felt that I was being told, listen, remember, you're standing on the shoulders of every woman who's ever had a baby. This was literally a message coming in words as I was in labor, right? So, and also had a very huge experience after my daughter actually was born, where there was a lot of problems, what potentially could be issues, scary things. And everybody around me was jumping into action. And inside, I literally said, am I dying? And I suppose I was asking my guides without even knowing that I was asking my guides. And I got a resounding, no, absolutely not. You are not. You've already done that. And then I was, now I can recall one of my deep dives into holotropic breath work where I saw multitudes of past lives, one after the other. And I was immersed in them. The person who was sitting with me was so scared because I was weeping so profusely because of a memory of losing my husband to battle. He was a knight. I was there. I was lying crumpled in the snow next to our stone home, and he was laid out in state in his armor, and I was bereft. I was out of my mind with grief. And that was happening to me. And the woman sitting with me was so afraid. She went and got the leader of the holotropic breath. She said, I'm really terrified. You have to bring her out. And he said, no, leave her alone. Just hold space for her. And I went through a multitude of lifetimes, including a shamanic being put into a big cauldron and being boiled down to bone. And then standing on the back of an elephant across the plains. It was, these kinds of experiences, and I'm kind of losing my thread here to what brought me over to this particular experience, but there are so many of these, right, that continually affirmed, right? Keep your doors open. If I could put it anyway, and this, I would say this to all of us. This is not a time to close our doors to what we sometimes lightly call the supernatural, right? It is all natural. This is what is natural to the human, and we want to remember this. We have doors that can open into realms that sometimes are beyond our imagining, and I think more and more people are rising into this understanding and this truth that we are each a portal and a vessel to places beyond what we have been told we can aspect. So I don't know if I actually answered your question, but something flowed through. So I'm just going to trust that.
Yeah. I love it. You have so many stories. I love your stories. And, we talked off camera the other day, and I love how you talked about the dark night of the soul and what that can mean for an individual, and how that can serve them. And I'd love if you would just speak a little bit to that.
Mm.
So that anybody going through maybe their awakening and their spiritual experience and maybe not understanding what the dark night of the soul is and how it is there actually to serve us, that could probably bring some peace of mind or some clarity for somebody watching today or listening today.
Right. That's a really amazing point, Susan, and really important. Yeah. And as I say, even to my clients, I won't speak about something that I myself has been experienced. Yeah. So I can only speak with any kind of authority, but it's my unique experience, right? By having walked through a dark night of the soul. Yeah. One particular deep dive, right, into the underworld.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so when I say it is a portal to perhaps our gems, right? I something I say a lot is the message is in your mess, right? It's not in spite of the dark night of the soul. It is perhaps because of the dark night of the soul that you can actually excavate those gems and those jewels of your own innate intelligence, of your own brilliance, right? Because when you make it through a portal like that, right? And I know, right, you're laughing, and because, right, I know you referred to your own dark night of the soul, right? Some experience. And Susan, I know, I think most of us who are on these paths have had versions of dark night of the soul, right? And we may not have known to call it that. And there's something beautiful about proclaiming that. It's not easy to proclaim that when you're inside of it. So I'm speaking to anybody here right now who feels that they might be immersed in what they might feel as a dark night of the soul or an underworld experience or just a profoundly challenging set of experiences. Yeah, I get it. I would never say to you, wow, this is your gold, right? Aren't you? Hey, celebrate. No, when you're inside of it, it's profoundly challenging. Yeah. Ultimately, for me, it wiped away. The feeling was, I have nothing. I am on the ground. I am on my knees. What do I have to turn to? Yeah, it truly challenging, and quite literally, from somebody looking at, I had nothing, and I'm speaking of all the literal things that can get taken away. Yeah, home, car, money, relationship. Yeah. So that was literally happening. But actually, what started to rise, and because I was taken to such a level, yeah, I either had to collapse, right, and just collapse and say, that's it, I'm done for, right? And sometimes we go through those passageways, right? And you might choose addiction to something, and I am not mad at that, right? I understand that, right? But for whatever reason, and maybe the reason was that I still had what I call that little flame inside of me that kept pointing me toward faith, right? I can call it faith now, right? I had a bit of an iffy relationship with God earlier because I was raised as an intellectual, right? Intellectual sort of, yes, very artistic, but we didn't talk about God, yeah? And even that word was a little like, right? That's for other people. But I had to turn toward that. And I didn't have to, but something chose in me because there was desperation, fear, anxiety, right? And so that is what filled my space as I was actually looking back now, reclaiming myself from an idea of who I was. And this is often what the dark night of the soul offers. It strips things away, right? Like all of the dark goddess stories, yeah? Inanna, Persephone, any of these beings who had to descend into the underworld, and they had to remove all of their stuff. Inanna had to give away her scepter, her crown, her clothing, her jewels, as she stepped down into the underworld, where she was then met by her sister, right, the other side of her, who said, "Oh, yeah, you think you're all that? I'm going to hang you up on this hook, naked, and leave you here." And for a certain period of time, right, here's this dark night of the soul, and it feels like that. But then comes the emergence, up and out, and you're given your new set of clothing, you're given your new crown, and it's actually you, because you've walked through and maybe stripped away some of the false, we can call them ego aspects, without derision. We all need an ego. We're not trying to get rid of our ego, but we might want to put it in its proper space, right? So, to anyone who is experiencing or has experienced, right, to be able to even sit and breathe and recognize, wow, I made it through that. Number one, if you're in it right now, what I would say is you are going to make it through this passageway, right? And perhaps you might decide to lean toward your version of faith, whatever that means to you. You might decide to ask for some help and support, right? That was a huge part of my ego, reformation was, well, actually, no, you cannot do everything all by yourself up in the tower. No. It is time to humble yourself and say, I need help. I literally reached out to sisters and said, I need to be put in the center of the circle. And I used to lead the circles. I just said, I am on my knees and I need to be put in the center of the circle. And by letting myself be seen in that way, that was a profound part of my starting to come up and out of that underworld and actually claiming my actual crown, my actual self. Yeah. So this is hopefully that's helpful.
Yes.
You said you speak about that so eloquently and make it so understandable and relatable.
I'm so glad.
Yes. Yeah. And I would love if you could maybe highlight your work and I know the thought or the statement that you are your own medicine. I love that.
Yeah, this is what has. Thank you for that question, Amya, because this is what has evolved, and this is what I see in people I work with, in all of us. Right, we are all here to walk on a sometimes very winding road. Sometimes it's a road that is filled with crushed glass, right? Right? Sometimes it's a road that's covered with soft, beautiful flowers, and to really be able to notice, right? Oh yeah, right now wow, I'm going to celebrate this moment, right? I'm not going to pretend this isn't happening. I'm going to celebrate this beautiful moment. Yeah. So you are the medicine really evolved, and I'll share, right? I have worked with a lot of plant medicines. Yeah, and those were incredible initiatory experiences. I'm very, very grateful for all of them. But they are not the thing. For me, they became the thing that pointed to the thing, which is, oh, all the medicine I need is right. I am the medicine. But not just I am the medicine. You are the medicine. You are the medicine. Everyone is ultimately the medicine. That does not mean we don't lean in toward community, communing, our cohort, co-creation, right? We are an interdependent species. We are meant to rely on one another and to support one another and uplift one another. I had already tried that. I'm going to live in the tower. I'll help you, but I don't need any help. No, right? That's what the dark night of the soul actually gave me. Yeah. But yes, to claim, right, that you are the medicine. And sometimes we need support to be able to see that in ourselves. And so that is what I support in others, right? I'm a guide. I am a being that, all of the things that I've experienced, right? The spirit connection doesn't go away when I'm sitting in session with somebody who maybe comes in once a week, right? Or every other week via Zoom, right? For a number of years, right? We are working with the psychological. I am working with the experiences they might have had as a child, right? We're not going to deny those. But spirit and the expansive reality is always in the room because I work for the big love, right? I can say straight up for people who are comfortable. I mean, you don't have to be comfortable with this word. I became comfortable with it, so I understand. I work for God. Yeah. And that's the bottom line. So I am not here to tell somebody what to do because you're the medicine. But I will echo and promote and highlight what you say your longing is. If you have a desire to allow something to flow through you, I'm going to keep reminding you of that. Hey, remember what, right? Like I'm here to promote that in you. I'm here to promote sovereignty. I'm here to support the fact that you have everything you need. And perhaps a lot of other people have a lot of things that you need too.
Mm.
And you're going to become inspired perhaps by others versus compare, right? Versus maybe denigrate somebody else because what they have is maybe what you want. Lean into it like, wow, I'm going to go stand near that person. Wow, right? I did that myself, right? I'd go through those layers like, oh my God, I admire that woman so much, right? And there were parts of me at certain times in my life, it's like, well, why does she get to do, right? And so I had to grapple with those things, right? We're human. We are human. And this is the beauty of being human. All the feelings, all of them, but learning how to let them move through us. That's another big aspect of my work is embodiment, right? To actually have tools that you have that are contained within your body. You don't have to go buy something,
Mm.
right? You are the something. I'm not saying it's not nice sometimes to buy beautiful, right? I love my crystals. I love my beautiful, right? Because they're my friends, right? Quite literally, like here's one of my friends right here, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm not right. This is not against something. It's for something, and that's how I work with people. I am for their deep innate intelligence, for their deep uh, authenticity, for their real being to come forward. Right. I'm going to be a cheerleader for that. I'm also going to poke and provoke in order to elevate. And this is where the spirit and the connection to the divine that I don't deny comes in because it changes for every person. I don't have a 1 through 7 steps for everyone. No, my field is that I can respond to the human who comes into the room as they are. Another huge part is the voice, right? Utilizing the word and the voice. This is a huge part of what has evolved in me is to understand, right? The word, we are casting spells when we speak. Yeah, and that is not something we should take lightly. When others speak words over us, when the news speaks hatred, division, pain, and war, right? We do not need to tune into that channel anymore because we have lived lifetimes in that channel. Yeah. So I will focus also on the word that people are proclaiming. Wait, do you notice that you've used that term about yourself multiple times. Let's find a new set of words. Let's create a new lexicon so that when you speak, right, you are speaking a new spell over yourself. Yeah? It's sacred work. I take it I am extremely honored, and I say this to people all the time. I am so honored to be in your presence. I am so honored. Do you know how amazing you are? And there's no part of me that takes that lightly. I feel so, so, so honored every day that I get to actually do this, that I get to be with people every day, that they entrust me with their stories, with their hearts. Right? It's a great honor. So yeah, that's hopefully gives some sense of what goes on in a room, right? And sometimes I just channel, right? Some people just say, I need a session. They live somewhere, they live in Hawaii, they live in Spain or whatever. And it's just, I close my eyes, I do a guided meditation and things come through. And that's the whole session. Yeah. There might be some feedback back and forthing for about 10 minutes at the end. And yeah, so that's a little tiny bit different than my folks who come in maybe every week or every other week or every 3 weeks. Yeah.
Beautiful. Well said.
Mhm.
Just love it. So you're working with clients and you're also probably getting, I think all of us are, whether we're paying attention or not, a sense of what's going on in the collective right now.
Mhm.
Based on your experience and what you're sensing and noticing,
Mhm.
I'm wondering what's important to share, you think, for our audience today within that?
Yeah, really, really great question. And I know you two are sensing, right? Because you're both extremely sensitive beings, right? Who work in these fields, right? And, you know, I felt a profound shift as we moved into this year that we're calling 2026, right? We know about calendars and the manipulation of all of the calendars, etc. But here we are. So we're all uniformly together deciding this is called 2026, yeah, generally speaking. And that this is by numerology, this is a 1 year. We were closing down a 10-year cycle. 2025 was like compression, compression, compression. Yeah. And I have felt profoundly this like, wow, right? Things are moving. This is absolutely a time, especially now, but this entire year, but April, my goodness, right? All these planets in Aries lining up, Aries, right? Some at the like 1 degree, 0 degrees of Aries. Now, I'm not an astrologer, but I pay attention and have done since I was very young. So there's an impact, right? Everything is connected. We know this. This is really truly the truth. We are all part of this beautiful web. So when planets do interesting things like 7 planets lining up in the very first astrological sign of the Western astrology wheel, Aries, springtime, the spring equinox, all of this happening at the same time in a 1 year, in the year of the fire horse. These things are not accidental. Yes, humans have created these structures, but we did not get the planets like, okay, could you all line up? 7 of you, come on. Although our energetic field is in communion, I believe, where there is a rising, right? There has been a rising into consciousness of the reality of the dark, right? Let's not pretend. Okay? Dark is not bad, but a concerted and conscious use of what we might call the dark, for lack of a better term. And there are folks who are using their own consciousness behind a proliferation of, we could say, unkind deeds, ugly behaviors. That is real. Okay, that does not do us any good to pretend like that does not exist. And we are seeing it broadcast. But what's important is that we remember, do we have war inside of us? Do we have some of these aspects inside of us that need to be loved back into the right spaces? Right? Have we excised our hearts? Right? When I talk about some of these folks who are like the cartoon character figures of darkness, right? They're playing their role, right? It's like, oh my God. Yeah, so extreme, so exaggerated in those roles, right? So I don't give a damn, right? I'm going to do and say, right? We don't need to name names. It doesn't matter. I mean, it matters, but it doesn't. To say to ourselves right now, what I believe is really important to say is that I am not for sale. My soul is not for sale. You may not have my mind. Absolutely not. Right? I live from my heart. Right? These are words I'm speaking as examples for folks to actually take up. I live from my heart. My body belongs to me. I'm dropping down and in. I'm rooting in with the earth. I'm going to remember my own native field, and you may not have 1 ounce of me without my permission. This is a claiming time. This is a reclaiming, right? Poof, like absolutely not, right? If we're allowing our spaces, our homes, our cars, the home of our bodies to be filled with voices, words, people that are not in alignment with our sacred center, then it is time to turn that off. We are not playing. They certainly are not playing. And I say they with some lightness, right? Because what is rising in the face of this is the beauty way, right? I had an experience with some, plant medicines where I literally saw and was experiencing myself as a weaver of light and color and sound, weaving light and color and sound, right? That this is my job, and that many of us were there. This is what we do. We create the beauty. We create the fabric of life, the beautiful way, rippling out, right? And up came these kind of demon creatures, and they were ripping and shredding and tearing, and we kept mending. And I said, no, well, sorry, but we're going to keep creating. And it came to a point where they were really literally trying to destroy the beauty, to really destroy it. And something came up in me, and I was holding 2 of these, and I apparently sat straight up. I had somebody sitting with me. This was a one-on-one sit. And they said, my God, you just sat straight up and you started speaking out. And what I remember saying was, we don't wish to fight, but if you insist, and we will rise. And what I felt was all of these humans, all these beings getting onto horses. Now, this was several years ago, and riding. We can say riding into battle, but not to have the kind of war that we're being told we have to have, the division. It was riding for the big love, riding for the beauty, with a smile like, oh, I'm sorry, little people who are not in your right minds. I'm sorry you feel you've had to excise your heart. Yes, you've been playing your role very well, but now you're trying to take it seriously and you need to stop. We won't have any more of that. We're here for the beauty. We're here for the art, right? We're here for the dance, for the song, for the books, right? For the beautiful food, for nature, for life. And that's what I feel is rising, is remembering ourselves, the human, right? There's no AI that can ever be human. Again, we're not against AI because we created AI. It's a part. It's we're trying to pretend to put something outside of ourselves that we in fact are. So we're here for the embodiment. We're here for the beauty. We're here for remembering our animal nature. This is the year of the fire horse. We're not trying to tame a horse. We're not trying to put a bridle in its mouth. How dare we? We're asking, may I ride with you? Would you allow me to remember my animal self and we will ride together? Right? So this is what I'm feeling. There's a lot of fire, right? I happen to have a stellium in a fire sign in a Sagittarius, which is a half horse, half human. So fire horse feels like, oof, yes. No, but everybody, right? So perhaps we could all lean back, pause, lean back, breathe, embody. This is one of the practices that I constantly return to and share because it's simple. Pause, lean back, breathe slowly through your nose deeply, loosen your mouth. Ah, right? Let this sound come forward and come back into your body. Okay? And decide what you're here to stand for. Why were you born? This is not casual. This is a great, great gift. And yes, it's challenging. But we're going to hold hands and we're going to remember we are weavers of light, color, and sound. This is quite literally, physics. This is what's happening, right? We have a vibratory field. We can get on purpose with our vibration. We can start creating a beautiful sound. And we are going to do it together. We're not going to do it alone, right? So that's what I'm feeling for this moment. Let's not let's not be casual. I'm not saying let's get really serious and be really afraid if we don't do it on time. No, let's be joyfully engaged in, like, I said no. And we have to be disciples to our own truth. We have to have some discipline, right? We will have many people telling us, oh my God, if you don't watch the news, if you're not paying attention, you're going to what? We know what the news is, but maybe we'd like to make something new. Right? We're not going to allow people to be harmed in front of us. The more we fulfill ourselves as the medicine, we will not stand by if our neighbor is being pulled from their car. Okay? We want to return to our humanness. And I believe that most humans actually really truly want the same things. I hear it from my clients. Many times I'll say, what is your deepest longing, though, inside of all of this that you've told me? Almost all of them will say, peace. I just want to feel peaceful. I want to feel peace inside myself. I want to feel that peace, right? So that is, right? I really believe it's a minority of humans who've literally cut their hearts out, right? Sacrificed their hearts to live some sort of a strange reality. And yes, they're playing their part to provide contrast, right? But we've come to a point where we want to remember, we want to be joyfully engaged, I would say, joyfully engaged in this rising up and reminding ourselves and each other, hey, we're in this together. We want peace. We want beauty. We want art. We want freedom. This is what we want. This is what we're here for. And this year is going to be a rapid, fiery journey that is going to push many people to really claim what they're here for, what they stand for. Do not allow others to co-opt your sacred space. You're not for sale. Right?
Thank you for the reminder about the joy, because I truly believe that we are here to experience joy. And a lot of times when I ask clients, like, what are they excited about, or what are they joyful for? what makes them happy, they don't know how to answer the question anymore because we're so caught up in all of the getting pulled in all these different directions, and that life is hard and this experience needs to be hard, right? That's kind of that message that we get. But I truly believe every single one of us is here to experience beauty and joy, just like you were talking about. Yeah.
Thank you, Susan. Yeah, beautiful. And even to recall that you are a creator of beauty and joy. That's the other word I don't like that's used often on the news. The consumers, excuse me? It's like we're a bunch of Pac-Man, Pac-Woman, the consumers, right? We're here to be creators. Ultimately, right? We have 5 fingers, we have opposable thumbs, we have these amazing minds, we have this brilliant, incredible, miraculous body, right? We're here to dance, right? We don't have to be dancers, capital D. Our bodies are made to express beauty. We're here to make beauty, not just, yes, and enjoy other people's creations, right? Celebrate other people's creations, uplift other people's creations. And you don't have to be a painter, a poet, right? Just creating beauty by walking out into the street and deciding, I'm just going to really look at everybody in the eye today. I'm just going to actually push past my discomfort and see if I can be present for people that I find challenging. Right? That in itself is like a huge accomplishment. I share with my clients, like, I'm challenged when I drive. Because in some other lifetime, I was a professional racer or something because I'm like, I couldn't get out of my... So I have to really do my own practice. Like, hey, how about you just pause and lean back and breathe a little bit, lady? Right? Come on. Right, let's calm down. Right? So we are all walking together.
Yeah.
And we all grapple with these little and big things. But yes, Susan, I think it's such a good point. Right? We are here to remember what joy feels like. Just what feeling good, right? That we're allowed to feel good. Like, what makes you feel good? Just simple, like, makes you feel good. Right? Giving yourself some of that, a little bit at a time, and keep offering ourselves. Yeah. Start simple. There's our little signal. All the
Just
signals.
a forgetful mind. I'm so engaged. I'm wondering if you would mind sharing some stories or concepts of the shift in consciousness that you've seen in others through your work.
Mm. Hmm. Well, in both little and big ways, right? I've had people who were perhaps defined by a job that they felt they must continue, right? That the idea was, this is my source. This is often a theme in work with clients, is that we try to I try to support them in understanding what the word source means, right? Capital S. Is your job your source, right? And when I say capital S, I mean, right, the energetic source of your stability as a human. If we are relying on some person, place, or thing to be the source of our life energy, life force, our sense of safety, right? We might give up some of our soul longing in order to create quote unquote stability or safety. So, for example, somebody who, has been working for corporate America, let's just call it that. I'm not going to say what exactly it is, but right, but a very, very prime mover inside of that field. And has had an argument with that work for some 20 some years, right? So there's been an engagement with that work, right? They've been doing it, and there's maybe still doing it. But this argument with the work was creating an energetic in physical body field of sickness, illness, yeah, and fear and anxiety, because they were in an argument with continuing to work for this corporate America, this group, this company, but continuing to do it because this is my source. But I have to really dislike this company because my soul, my myself is saying spiritually, I shouldn't be working here, right? They are the quote unquote dark side, really, literally, right? And so the argument became so enmeshed inside of them. I must stay because this is my security, this is my safety, this is my source. But I have to, as a spiritual being, say that I'm against this company, that even that they're like, there's something wrong with me for continuing to work for these people. So in the work together, what my goal was in supporting this person was to actually be with the now, be in acceptance and land in, can you be generous with yourself and kind to yourself and just be good with what you're doing right now, not be in a war with anything, right? Just to really work toward, okay, actually, there are things about this company and this job that have provided me with a sense of stability that I did not receive from my father, right? But this is what actually emerged. I had a deep longing to be held in this way by my father, and he simply could not do it for whatever reason, right? He had his own reasons. And mother also could not just have that sense of, we're going to reflect to you that we think you're great, because this woman is a very high achiever in this, very amazing, right? Very powerful. And was getting that reflected by this company. Wow, you're amazing, right? You're our number one. Yes, right? Really holding, we love you. We love your presentations, and they're different from other people's, and they're kind of wild, and we love you, right? But because the conflict was living that I should not be in this place, this is not spiritual, they're the bad guys, quote unquote. So really the initial thing was just to come into that, oh, okay, I see what I was doing. I was really wanting to provide that sense of security and reflection, and we could say from the divine masculine, because this is a company that's very dominated by the masculine. So really there was a healthy inclination there. And look at what she created, right? She created a tremendous success, a high level of support, a healing, right? Ultimately, as we kept unwinding this, of the father wound, yeah, and a sense of, oh, I can rely on this thing that I'm actually being supported here, which then can possibly allow her, when she's ready, to step away, but not with a like, I've got to get out of here, like this is terrible, but with, wow, thank you, my God, I created this healing experience of feeling held and supported, and I've got a structure around me that really, really is caring for me. Oh my goodness, thank you. And now I'm ready to move into my next iteration from a place of empowerment. So that's one example of a real human who I admire and honor so deeply, incredible human being, right? So that was just sort of evolution toward, also de facto, you are the medicine because you created this for yourself from a state of innate intelligence. And now you're refining and understanding, oh, I am that person. My source is deeper than this company or even my father, right? And her source is becoming more attuned to, oh, the body is the tuning fork, and I'm going to plug into source below, and I'm going to access source above, and I'm going to let that flow through me and know that I can lean back into the ineffable, into the, invisible, so to speak. Yeah. And then you can start to choose how you create. Yeah. But She was choosing. It was just a little bit on the unconscious level. So we kind of
Yeah.
pulled that up, took that out of the unconscious, and actually let's bring it up to the surface. Yeah. Very sensitive being, very, 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 very sensitive, very spiritually attuned, right? It was just she had spells cast over her, right? Words spoken over her, right? We had to take some of those spells off and decide. Yeah. So yeah, that's one example. But everybody's different. Everybody comes with a different medicine. Yeah. Hmm.
You also channel. You mentioned earlier sometimes sessions are you just kind of channeling whatever is helpful at that moment for that person.
Mm-hmm.
Um, First of all, I'm curious who or what you're channeling. If you could maybe talk about that a little bit
Okay.
for people that don't understand what
Mm.
channeling is.
Yeah.
Um, and then
Okay.
I'd also be curious if you feel comfortable maybe channeling a little bit for us today.
Sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That's a great question. And where I want to start is that we are all channels.
Hmm.
And I don't mean that casually. We are all channels. This body right here, yours, is made, we are constantly channeling right now, right? We're
Hmm.
receiving electric energy, energetic downloads, right? We're receiving vibrational, right? I'm hearing the noise of the, kind of air system here, right? I'm receiving the energetic of that, etc., right? We're constantly a channel, from my perspective, is a receiver, right? You decide, right? I used to call myself, and sometimes still do, a translation station. And I think we all are, right? We are translating incoming through this beautiful vessel. Yeah. So when we tune in and decide to be conscious and pay attention, we can start channeling on purpose. Now, I don't channel an entity, a being, a character, right? I feel that, even you asking me that has me like, okay, well, how do I describe this? To me, it's just, number one, you proclaim, and as I always do, I work for God, I work for the big love. I've had experiences of having what we would call dark entities with form, right? Come and quite literally sit on my chest. This was when I was younger. I was leaving my field too wide open because I wasn't being conscientious about what I was putting in my body, what I was drinking, etc. I was young. I was wildly open, being, and sometimes I felt like, oh my God, this is, sometimes, like I said earlier, sometimes it's like just too much. Like, okay, I don't want to look and see if there's a ghost in here. Can I just like, ah? So in the youthful stages, right, we might use alcohol or drugs to attempt to kind of either shut that down or understand it even, or give ourselves permission to go even further into it. All that said, I've actually had times where there have been what I could call dark entity forces coming in and attempting to jump on in because I had left my field too open. And because, right, I wasn't conducting myself with consciousness and saying who I work for.
Hmm.
So that would be the first thing I would say to anybody. If you wish to practice channeling, first of all, decide and proclaim who and what you work for, right? I like using the term big love because that seems to work for everybody,
Hmm.
right? I'm not going to impose the word God. Some people have had religious trauma. I've had a number of clients who've had religious trauma in their childhoods, and where the word God is really, really painful almost and difficult. So, right, proclaiming and claiming, I work for the big love, right? If that's easy for you. I work for great spirit. I work for the divine. Right? That you're asking to work with elementals that are in alignment with your proclamation. Hey, just open the field up to anything and anybody, right? Just come on in. No. But that said, I don't have a being or something with a face or a identifiable. If anything, I would say perhaps I am channeling the most high version of myself. And that's not just strictly only relating to this body in this lifetime. When I say I call in my team, right, like I did at the beginning, I call in, well, before we went on camera, right? That came early in my life and somehow just started doing it. I'll call in my team. Now, I'm not saying I see, Joseph, Allegra. I'm just using, for example, names, and they are my team. I'm just proclaiming that I have an energetic field. And what I say, and I'll just say it so that people can hear, I'll say, I'm calling in my team. I ask that you stand to the front of me, to the back of me, to the left and to the right of me, below me and above me, in, through, and as me, supporting me in being a vessel of the Most High, of the big love and the big love only. Right? So this is a way that I say to myself, I'm just creating a field of openness to receiving anything that wishes to come through that's spoken on behalf of the big love and the divine, great spirit, right? The great creator, the creative spirit, art, right? Beauty, the beauty impulse. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody has that. Everybody, right? And I emphasize during these times that human beings, that we all are humans, number one, but that we root in, drop a root from the base of your spine into Mother Earth, that you actually really proclaim, hey, I'm on the earth walk this time around. I'm doing the earth walk right now. So before I start opening up, right, I've seen this in folks who are like, let's do ayahuasca every week, right? Let's just open ourselves up and finding themselves completely unrooted, they don't have their feet on the ground. They can't manifest anything in their lives. It's just, right? No, let's be embodied. Let's be rooted first. Down and in first. Root yourself down and in. If you wish to access yourself as a channel, root down and in. Have a relationship with the mother. Have a relationship with your body. Then you can invite yourself to expand up and out and to invite in, right? Some call it the Akashic, right? Right, the field of space, the vastness of all things. And just see, right? If you've already said, I work for the divine, I'm here for the big love, I'm in my body, I'm connected to the earth, just see what comes through, right? See what right? Trust what rises. Mm. Thank you for being the powerful, powerful creators that you are. All the energy and time and beauty, that you've taken yourselves and created this beautiful platform. What a gift. I'm honored to be here with you both. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Labor of love.
I can feel that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, maybe I could ask you, what wisdom can you share with the audience for anyone who might be experiencing a spiritual or a mystical experience?
Mm. Well, number one, to simply take a breath and allow yourself to simply feel the experience, right? You don't have to rush to describe it. You don't have to rush to brush it away. You don't have to make it into anything. Just to simply, again, pause, lean back, breathe, come back into your body, and just acknowledge it. Oh, wow, that was something, right? You don't even want to have to try to go, oh, that must have been that I was just like, ooh, wow. Let yourself breathe into it. Let yourself be with your body. Let yourself be with it, first of all. Just acknowledge it. Okay, that was something I have not, I perhaps have not experienced anything like that before. I don't know exactly what that was. You can check in too. How does my field feel? I've asked this of clients, right? When they've shared, well, I had this thing, can I trust? I said, how did you feel? Well, it felt really kind of good. Okay. If it feels good, right? You can, like, no, I don't feel bad. I don't have a like gripping feeling in my stomach. The mind might go into like, I don't know if I'm supposed to have this kind of experience. Nobody I know ever said they had this kind of experience. That's the mind, and you can just like say to the mind, it's okay. If your body's feeling like, wow, that was kind of exciting. That was sort of fun, or that, wow, that was cool. Trust that. That's what I would say to anybody having what they might describe as a spiritual or mystical experience. Feels good. Trust it. If it feels like, ugh, like something in your body's like, oh, gripping in the stomach, right? Feeling nervous, anxious, yeah, in your body. Maybe take a minute, right? Clear your field, right? There's nothing and no one who can enter my physical, mental, emotional, spiritual space without my permission, and I do not give it. I do not give it. I do not give it, right? Sage the place, right? Come back in and say, I'm open to spiritual experiences. I'm open to mystical experiences, but I'm here on behalf of the big love of the divine, interested in spiritual mystical experiences that have me feeling more expanded, feeling like I can be a beneficial presence on the planet, good in my body, mind, and spirit, and then see about trying it again, lighting a candle, making a statement, right? Yeah, hopefully that's helpful.
Thank you for sharing that.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah.
And how can our listeners find you?
Well, they can go. I think really my website is, I mean, there are two spots, but my website is magdalenacurtis.com. And maybe you'll have that printed somewhere. And that, I've just made a brand new guided meditation with a lovely ambient soundtrack that a beautiful friend of mine who's an incredible musician created this lovely soundtrack, just ambient sound for the back of it. So you can access that. That's free. It's just a gift. And you can find that there and you can, read a little bit. Yeah. And drop in with me if you want to have a free 15-minute exploration call. You can do it via my website as well. We can just drop in together and have a call and talk and drop in with each other. And then I do have a burgeoning YouTube station that has some very old videos from when I originated in maybe 2015. I might have somewhere back in the past. But I've been making videos just sort of spontaneous, in the moment, sometimes every other day for the past 6 months or so. So also Magdalena Curtis on YouTube. Yeah, just keep it simple. Yeah.
I like it that way.
Yeah. Me too. Me too.
Well, Magdalena, it's been such an honor and such a great
Mm,
joy. Truly, I have really enjoyed our time with you. Thank you for stepping into this space with us. And until we
pleasure.
gather again, stay curious, stay grounded, and honor what you know beyond words.
Mm, thank you. Big love to both of you. Thank
Mm.
you so much. Bye.